Hi everybody, this is Katie. Welcome to Chapter 4, Code with Me. I'm going to do this one a little differently because I just did this whole video and it was an hour long and I trashed it because I thought it was too long and too lost for people to follow. So we're going to do this over and we're going to do it where I'm just going to give you a couple videos, a couple little short examples. So stay with me through the couple videos that we do, but they're going to be short. So what I have open here is our textbook on page 168. You've already watched the lecture on chapter 4. You've read the material. You know what decisions and Boolean logic is. So let's code a few of these in small basic. Let's see, which one do we want to do? How about this one? The area of a rectangle. I'm not planning this. This is probably why my videos might not make sense, but let's do number 2. The area of a rectangle. It is length times width. So design a program. All right, everybody. Let me get my little sticky note out because we're designing this program. This is what I'm going to do to make my pseudocode. And you know, you don't have to turn in this, but we need to figure out how to solve it. So program that asks the user for the length and width of 2 triangles. So maybe one that's length GTH of, did I say triangle? Rectangle 1. You don't have to type this. I'm just making the notes to myself as I'm reading the problem so you can see how I'm solving it. Width of DTH of rectangle 1 equals 0. Or just initialize it. Ask the user for length and width of 2 rectangles. So we have another one, rectangle 2. And width, a rectangle 2 equals 0. Okay, now it does say ask the user, so let's make a note. These are our input variables. Alrighty. And then the program should tell the user which triangle has the greater area, or is the area the same. So we have some decisions going on, but we also need to figure out the area of rectangle 1 and the area of rectangle 2. So these will be some calculated variables. Okay. So let's think about this for a minute. What to do, or we could just look at the answer. No, let's think about it. I'm not going to just show you the answer. Maybe I should. No. Okay. Tell the user which has a greater area. So that our decision would be something like, if the area of rectangle 1 is greater than the area of rectangle 2, then what? Oh, stop. I don't know why it's doing that. I got some problems with my computer lately, but that's normal, right? So if area 1 greater than area 2, then what? It's bigger. Rectangle, we can just whatever. Display. Rectangle 1 is bigger. Then we could do else if area 2, let's see, area rectangle 1 is less than area rectangle 2, then display rectangle 2 is bigger. So else display they are the same, right? You can write this decision different ways. This one, just a simple just a simple if then else. So if it's not bigger and it's not smaller, then they're exactly the same. And again, you could write it differently. You could say if area of rectangle 2 is greater than area of rectangle 1. Oh Lord, stop. Sorry about that. You know, you could answer in different ways. So, what one of the other things we need to figure out is, okay, I'm going to throw that printer. I'm not even trying to do anything but talk. So stop it. Sorry, I'm talking to my computer. Okay, so we also need to figure out the area of a rectangle. I'm not even printing. Stop. Well, maybe it heard me this time. It'll stop. Otherwise, I'll pause and throw my computer somewhere. Okay, how do we calculate area? Well, it doesn't tell us. Area is length times width of an object. But if you don't know this, we have Google. Calculate area of a rectangle. Now, don't laugh at me, because you might not have known how to calculate this. So, awesome. We love Google. We didn't have Google back 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I guess. 10-year happy birthday. Area is width times length. So when we calculate the area of rectangle 1, it would be equal to the length GTA rec 1 times the width of rect 1, and then area 2 is the same, but dealing with the second one. So I know I keep talking about don't get scared by the math, and there's no reason to when we have things like Google. So there you go. Hey, we can even leave this up here to test our calculations if we want. Okay, so I think that is all we need to do with the program. So let's go ahead over and code it. And I mean, we didn't write out main and we didn't write out modules, but we have our structure here for our decisions. So that should be good. That should be good for now. We'll code it based on that. So I'm going to open up my small basic. Bam. I'm going to save this. Now this code with me is going to be a couple short videos, so I'm going to save this one as code with me area rectangle. Chapter 4. Sure, it's kind of a long file name now, but just whatever you want. Just know that there's going to be a couple little programs that you're going to do here. So start your program with your basic header, and if you haven't figured this out already, you can open up any program that you wrote in the past. Let me open up my chapter 3 code with me. I'm going to take this and copy and paste, and now I have my header. Code with me, chapter 4, area of rectangle. Alrighty. So let's get our things side by side here so we can see our pseudocode in our code. One of the other things that you might want to look up is that PDF document on introducing small basic. This is the one that I gave to you either in class or it's online in Blackboard. It's also on smallbasic.com, and there's chapter 4, which introduces conditions and branching. So it shows you the keywords in small basic for if, then, and if, then, and if. Sorry, I want to make sure my headset was on. The pseudocode and the actual code is pretty consistent in small basic, but you can't do too many things. One thing that I don't think you can do that I can't see in here is you can't use switch statements, and switches and cases are so much easier to code than nested if-else's. So you'll do that in your future classes as well. But here, here's an if, then, else, and if. And if you look at our pseudocode, that's what we have. If, then, else. Oh, we have two of them. This is a nested if else. If, then, else, if, then, else. And then we could write an end if right here. So we're nesting an if, else, inside of an else is what we're doing. So we can look at any of these examples in here. One of the if then else, they don't have too many pages, just a couple pages, but one of these in this document that's super important is this paragraph right here. In the examples and how we code, you'll see that the statements between the if, the else, the end if are indented. The indentations are not necessary, but it helps you to see the flow of your program when you can see what belongs inside of what. Now, some languages have like curly braces that group them together. That doesn't happen in small basic. So use your indentations to make it a lot easier to, see your if else. You don't have syntax, you don't have errors, or you don't, cry over a missing end if. Now, I've cried over missing syntax errors before, so that's why I say that. But indent is your friend. Indent it. So that's important. If, then, else. So the only examples we have here in this is an if, then, else statement. So we have these keywords. So let's figure out how we can do a nested if else here. All right. Back in this program, let's create our variables like we have been doing first. So the first thing, not declare because we don't have data types in here. So we'll just take our length, rec. You could shorten these variables if you want. Set it to 0, and width. Rect 1, set it to 0, length, rect 2, 0, and width. Okay, we also have our other two variables that we're going to calculate, the area of rectangle 1 and the area of rectangle 2. Hold on a second. I can't talk, Mother. My mom's calling me. Okay. Let's see. Now we still want to have our main module, and we still want to have modules. So this program doesn't say have to have an input, calculate an output module, but because we learned that in Chapter 3, we're going to keep doing these things going on. So we're going to always have a main module. Now, I didn't lay this out in my pseudocode, but I'm going to think that I'll have I'll do my module calls in main. And I think I'll have one that inputs my sides, so maybe I'll call that input sides. And then I'll probably have one that does my calculating the area, so I'll call that calculate area. And then one, nope, I think that's it. I was thinking I'd have one that displays, but I'm going to display in my calc module, because if you look at my pseudocode, I say display right here, so I both calculate and display there. Okay. You can, again, small programs, you can code a couple different ways. So we have our variables, we have our modules, so let's call our code our subs. Those are the calls. So now we'll code our sub modules. And the first one we'll do sub input sides. And then I'm going to end that right away so I don't forget to end that. It's important to do that because as our programs get longer, we get lost in our tabs or our syntax, we get lost in it. So make sure when you open one, you close it right away. All right, let's do our input. Nothing new here, so you could just go ahead and type this on your own. Text window. I won't talk and type. I'll just type. This is nothing new. Their length of rectangle. Well, let's do it this way. And make that go away. You can say it, you can explain how you want to, what you want them to do. You can even change the color of your input. You know, did we show you that? I think I did in one of my examples. You could say text window dot That's just a little fanciness, people. It's free information. Thanks to one of you guys who told me how to do it. I think that was you, Matt. Hello, Matt, out there. Thank you. We're learning this small basic. Again, it's new for me this year. There's not a lot of complexity to it, which makes it easier for us to learn, but it also kind of limits the functionality. Ooh. And you know what? Look at my line 23 and 24. If you're following my, I'm going to go back because look, I got a problem. I didn't say length. Rect 1 equals that. Oh no, that's not right either. See, don't follow me blindly, people. I need to read that data in. Length equals text window dot read number. There we go. And width dot text window. Now I make mistakes, so just go along, make sure you're following. And also you should be getting to the point where you should be able to go, hey, what is she doing? She's doing that wrong. Now we got to enter in the data for rectangle 2. Let me save my file. Watch this fanciness. Copy. Control C. Go down to line 28. Control V. And change my 1s to a 2. And let's change this background color to blue. And change line 31 to a 2. Line 33 to a 2. And now my input's done. Now, copy and pasting is fun, but it can also get you in trouble because if you don't change your variable names when you copy and paste, it's going to overwrite the first one. So make sure that you do that properly. So double check your input. This is all that we have in our input. So take a look. It's all we needed to do. This is all the input we're asking. Okay? Right there. All right. Let's code our next one. This is the new one. Sub, and we call this calc area. Oh, you know, dang it. I did it again, people. Look at your code right here. I just typed my error. See what I said? You're probably going, she's doing that wrong, because I am. No, there's no parentheses when you define a method header, a module header in Small Basic. So go back up to where you did sub input sides. I'm not trying to trick you up on purpose. I'm just trying to teach you something without being wrong. Which doesn't always work, but so make sure you take those out. The only place in Small Basic where you have Parentheses is in your calls, not when you define it, because you can't actually pass them down. Okay, so let's end that sub right away, and now we can code that. So what is in here? That's where this decision comes into play. So this is our new stuff. Well, it is where our decision is, but we also have to calculate area first, because we can't determine which area is larger until we calculate it. So let's do that first. So we'll calc area first. So area rect1 is equal to the length of rect1 times the width of rect1. And area of rect2. Now, make sure you guys are using these this help that comes up right here, the length one. You can use your arrow to select it, and then hit enter to autofill. And the awesomeness about that is you don't have spelling errors. So try to do that. Make decision. Okay, so now let's code our first if, then else if, then else and if statement. So this is called a nested if-else statement, because we have a if-else inside of an else. So if keyword, notice it comes up, if, the if allows you to make decisions to do different things. Thank you, Hope. If area 1, if area of rectangle 1 is greater than area of rectangle 2, then what do we want to happen? We want to display that rectangle 1 is bigger. So we will say text window dot right line and rectangle 1 is larger. Let's display it too. So with an area of rect area okay. So let's look at our okay, back over here, you see how they have the condition around parentheses? If remainder is equal to 0, I want to talk about an equal in my next video too. If clock hour is less than 12, those are called conditions. Remember that? So we need to put our parentheses around our condition. Our condition here is if area of rectangle 1 is greater than area of rectangle 2, then we want to display rectangle 1 is larger with an area of rect 1 area. Okay? And then what do we want to do? We want to do another if, but there's a nesting. So we want to say else if, and then another condition. Area of rectangle 1 is less than area of rectangle 2. Now you guys, when I say greater than, less than, those are your relational operators that you learned about when you read the chapter. These are things that you learned way back in grade school. Less than, greater than, equal to, less than or equal to. There's a table on page 127, but I'll tell you, I've told you this before and I'll say it again, I make these mistakes all the time. I always read mine out loud because it helps me. But when you say greater than and you put less than, that's a logic error. So you gotta, make sure you think it through and don't just go on instinct, because even though we know what less than means or greater than means, we make those errors pretty easily in programming. So it helps me to read it out loud. So, okay, if area 1 is greater than area 2, then do that. Else if rectangle 1 is less than rectangle 2, then let's say text window dot writeline rectangle. This is basically with rectangle 2 bigger, so we'll say what you can write it however you want, but let's say rectangle 2 is larger with an area of, again, you could display it however. Oh, you know, I know you're yelling at me. Don't you wish you could be yelling at me? Because look at, I put rect1 area, and that's not even a variable name, people. All right, if you're following along with me blindly, look back on line 44. This is where I have a big stop. Beep, beep, beep. Katie made an error. My variable name is not that. It's area rect1. Oh, goodness. It's not even the middle of the night. It's the middle of the day. I've had a Diet Coke. I've had my coffee. I'm good, man. Good night's sleep. If that, then this. Else if, then that. Okay? What's the last one? Else, they're the same. So if it's not larger, it's not bigger, they're the same. So let's go back and add that last one, which would be else. Now, else's have no conditions. They never have a condition. So you never want to say, else condition, you know. You wouldn't say else area 1 equals area 2. That doesn't work. So we'll say the rectangles area, the area of the rectangles are the same. The area of the rectangles are the same. And you could print out the area or not, so we'll just end it. Now tabs, I would probably tab that over, and this would probably tabbed over, and then the last thing, end if. Okay, now why did that tab over funky? I might have a syntax error. It's not beyond the realm of possibility, but I didn't want that to. Well, we could leave the else on that line, and then this end if matches this. Okay, now I've never coded an if-else. I've coded them a million times in other languages, but never ever in this one. So let's see how it works. Save my program. Whoa, let's run it. Nope, and I have a syntax error with my end if. Maybe end if isn't something. Let's look at our. Let me look at my PDF. If, then, and if. If, then, else, and if. If, then, else. I'm missing something here. Now I wonder, I gotta look at some other examples on, hold on a second. I wonder if we can't, we gotta be able to nest if else's in small basic. Otherwise, we're just not going to be able to use this program. Let me check. Hold on a second. Well, you won't notice. I'm going to pause for a minute. What? 28 minutes? Okay, we're back. This is where we were, and I had to do some research. Multiple if-elses. So here's a Minecraft code. This is not what this says in our PDF. Well, actually, because it doesn't show us an else-if example. Man, that's not very helpful. Well, I'm glad you're watching this so we know how to code it. When all else fails, Google, and this is what it told me. Else if is one word. So we're going to combine else if. And then the other thing too is that the else has to be on a separate line. So looking back at our code, if then keyword, else if one word. So take that space out, and when you compile, I just have one error. Excuse me. if I just hit enter and I put that on a separate line, else has to be, it has to be on a separate line. So that's your else if for this part. So I'll hit run, and now it works. Enter data for rectangle 1. Okay, 10 for the length and 20 for the width. And rectangle 2, let's do 15 and 20. So rectangle 2 is larger with the area of 300. Is that right? Should be. We can always check our math this way. 15 times 20, 300. And that's definitely larger than the other one. You want to run it again, we can test another area, 70 length and 8 width, and let's try a small rectangle for 2. Rectangle 1 is larger with an area of 560. Okay. Excuse me. That's our basic nested else if then. Now, I said this is going to be a short 10-minute video, and we're at 30 minutes, so let's just do one video. Sorry it takes me so long to explain things, but I really want you to understand. And we have this great example for us. So if you want to continue on with any else if, you just do that. So you would then, like if you had another something else you wanted to check, you could do another one. Else if they're equal to each other, you could do that and say text window. Well, we could just get rid of this one. Let me cut this line from 50 and paste it in 48. And then else, I don't know, it would never get to this one. Error! It would never get there because it just can't get there. If it's not this or this or this, it has to be in this example. But you can see how you just would continue on. And look at, I forgot my then keyword. So look at these, look at the structure. If, then, else if, then, else if, then, else. And that's the final one. Always end with an end if. And just make sure my code is still good. Yep. And equal sign. In the book and in that table where it shows you the relational operators, it talks about the double equal sign is when you ask if something is equal to something. In every programming language I've ever coded, it's always been two equal signs in every language. But in Small Basic, they want to be different, and it's just one. So make sure you don't put two. I probably will do that, but you'll get a error expected, a condition here, and it just wants one. So anytime you're asking if something is equal, it's a one equal sign in Small Basic. Pseudocode, it's double. Anywhere else, it is double. So that's the program. Now, let me show you one way you can also copy the sample output to your file. So you can take this and you could do a screenshot. So you could run the snipping tool. New. Let me take that, and so I have that snipped. You can go back if you didn't see how I did that. We have our code here. So I'm going to take my code. This is something you have to turn in. And I'm not going to do another video. You guys have listened to me for 40 minutes after I only told you 10. And when I do the assignment, I'll probably make a video because I want you to do a larger if-else and a larger program, but I don't want it to leave you on your own. So this is just one example. So I'm going to copy this. So I did a Control A, Control C. I'm going to go over to my Code With Me assignment. So this is what you saw. Let me delete all that since I'm just going to do one. So I'll have, this is going to be the submission file. Let me save this as, this is the one you downloaded from the, you downloaded it from Blackboard. I'm going to call mine answers. And I'll paste my code there. So I have nice pretty code in there. And then I'm going to go over to my snippet that I took, this one here. I'm going to do a Control A, Control C to copy. Go back over to Word and a Control V to paste. That looks so much easier, so much prettier too. Easier for me to read. So there you go. Save this, turn it in as the Code With Me Chapter 4, and you're ready to start the assignment. Whatever that is. I got to think of that next. So thank you, and I just can't be short unless it's in actual height, which I am very short. So have a great day. Bye.